This is Cal Lemons, and this session is a little help for my photo friends. We're going to talk about all the things to do with photography this year with our books. How to get more photos, to crowdsource, how to utilize those photos for strong design so that we have a really successful year. So let's get started. So are you nervous? I know maybe this is kind of a yeah question, but I think this is the way to start because I think we are nervous. We're just a little apprehensive about the coming school year. This is how we feel. Because we don't know what's going to happen. There's just too many unanswered questions. Are we going to have school? Are we going to be hybrid? Are we going to start and then stop again? Are classes going to happen? Are clubs going to happen? Are sports going to happen? We just don't know. But there is one thing that we know for sure. It will be different. Let me say that again. It will be different. That's really important because you need to embrace that, because no matter what, that's not going to change. Everything else will be different this year, but that is what's going to happen. It will be different for us. So we got to embrace it. So that's the one thing that we can't change about this coming school year. So it's time to stop wallowing and worrying and embrace it. We've been complaining a lot about how hard it's going to be and what are we going to do and oh my gosh. And those things are not going to help us. It's going to be a tough year. And so we have to decide to embrace this year. The way your attitude is going to make or break your year. If you are going to wallow and complain and whine about everything, it's going to be miserable. And I don't think that's the way to go. I think that you have to look at this as a positive. I think you have to embrace this challenge, accept that you have this challenge and take it on. That's the attitude to have. This quote from Nelson Mandela came to mind when I started thinking about this year. It always seems impossible until it's done. That's us this year, guys. That's this yearbook. It seems impossible until it's done. And so we're going to embrace this challenge and we're going to make it happen. So with this newfound attitude we have, we're going to embrace the challenges that we have. And one of the biggest challenges is going to be photography, because we don't know if our traditional events are going to happen. We don't know if we're going to have pep rallies and cheerleaders. We don't know if we're going to have sports, or if we do have sports, if they'll be complete seasons, or if we'll have games at all. We don't know about school portraits. Some people are already having senior portraits. Some people don't know if school photography is going to be led in the building. We don't have an answer yet. Heck, if we are on campus, we don't even know if yearbook photographers are going to be allowed into classes. That's going to change depending on what campus you're on. So a lot of challenges ahead, but we are embracing them, right? We are embracing our challenges. We are going to have to be strategic this year in how we get photos. And so I've got a couple strategies that I'm going to talk about today. I've got 5 strategies for you. So one is take as many photos as possible. 2, plan on having more mugs and cutouts in your designs. 3, photograph generic options to incorporate into your spreads. 4, crowdsource images. That's going to be huge. And 5, utilize images really smartly. So we're going to dig into this. So number 1, take as many photos as possible. You should start taking photos now. If you haven't started, it is time to start taking those photos. If your school has been offering free lunches, you should be getting pictures of that. Your yearbook distributions, if you already had it, I hope you took photos, because that definitely needs to be in your book this year. If you haven't had it, plan on taking photos. Those moments are really important. That should be in this coming book. You guys went through a lot to make that book happen, and that needs to be featured. If your athletes have gone back to campus and they're having practices or having workouts, those strength and conditioning workouts, you need to photograph those. And it might be that you have to be far away, with a long lens through a fence, or you might have to ask the coach to take the pictures, but you need to take those pictures if they're back on campus, because what if they don't have seasons? What if that's the only photos you have for their season? So you need to find out if they're back on campus, or if they're not yet, when are they? So you can snag those pictures. If your school is doing any type of preparations for COVID, you need to get pictures of that, whatever that is, if they'll let you. Again, if they won't, maybe an admin person will be willing to take them for you. This is when being nice to admin is important. Um, you know, if you are going to back soon, you got to get pictures of teachers going back to work and seeing what that's like. If you are going back, what kind of back to school events are they having? Is there any type of registration? Is there any kind of, meet the campus event? Is there a freshman event or a sixth grader event? I know one school in Texas is having a big back to school event like they all have, but it's going to be virtual. But the students that are involved in it will be there on the field, socially distant. Everybody will be watching from a screen at home. Well, the yearbook photographer is going to be there. They have permission to be there. They will be socially distant, but they will be covering it so that they have photos of this event. So find out what events are happening for you. When you go back, and hopefully we all go back, those first day photos are going to be so instrumental. Now, it won't look like this photo because we definitely will be socially distant probably, but we need those moments. We have not been in school in months. We desperately want to walk through those doors, and we need to get pictures of that happening. That's going to be huge for us. That is a historical moment that needs to be in every single book this year. So we need to capture those things. And in addition to that, when we go back, hopefully we'll go back soon. Maybe it'll be in the spring. I don't know yet, but when we go back, we need to photograph anything and everything. We need to photograph classes, we need to photograph lunches, we need to photograph clubs, we need to photograph sports, photograph students, everything we can, we need to grab just in case we do shut down again. That's going to be important. Number 2, plan on having more mugs and cutouts in your designs. So we don't know how many candid opportunities there are going to be this year. So you really need to put more emphasis on the photos that you can get, on photos that you can snag, those pose images. That means mugs, that means cutouts. So we're going to need to put more of those in our book. We're going to need to rely on those type of images more. So look at some examples. This is Hendrickson High School from last year, and I love this spread. But look at this cutout of this football player. This is a story about him getting a scholarship to UC Berkeley, and I love this photo. This photo makes the spread. And these are the kind of things that you're going to need to do this year. You're going to have cutouts of players, cutouts of people. Here's another one. This is Shawnee Heights High School, and this is coverage of, they got new turf. So you have this empty fields in the background, and then you have all these cutouts of football players that they clearly photographed all of them, and so this is great to have this. And this might be your football coverage, because what if they have one game, or what if there are no games? And so could you run the empty field at sunset and then have images that you've photographed of the players all separately, so you have some social distancing, but could you do this? Absolutely. And then could there be quotes from these players talking about what might have been or what it's like? I think this is really, really compelling coverage, and I think it needs to be in our book. So keep this in mind, these cutouts, this way to get coverage in. Here's another one. This is West Monroe High School, and they had 2 quarterbacks this year. And so they ran a photo of one and the other, and they put them together. But this cutout and then the 3 other cutouts on the page really make the spread. So cutouts can be a huge part of your look and your design this year. Here's Venice High School, and this is a spread that connects to their theme, and there's all these different cutouts of students. And look, there's no dominant photo, and yet this page is so compelling. And look at these photos. Very little of it is just somebody just standing there straight. The students are doing funny things. She's holding her shirt, he's doing the hey, this one's here, she's playing her instrument. I think that that's smart. Even if you're asking someone, hey, take this picture of yourself for me and send it to me, because maybe we're at home, you're asking them to have some fun. There's some interaction with our cutout, and I think that makes this even better. And then of course the design of this is very cool. So yeah, there's no dominant, but yet this whole spread has this gorgeous, wow, fun look to it. Here are cutouts in the faculty section, and so we've got our teachers included. So remember, these cutouts can be used in lots of ways in our books. In addition, don't forget about mugs. Mugs are going to be integral to your book this year. And so here are mugs in Santa Fe Trail's book. Just a very simple, small picture of the kid, with their regular background. Here are mug cutouts from Bowie High School, where they've taken the background out and this mod that they had on a page. Here is Austin High School, where they have the mug and they've taken out the background, but they put them on a pink background. Very popular right now with color blocks behind mugs. So mugs are going to be a big part of your design, whether it's in a small mug or it incorporates the page, whatever it takes, but this you need to rely on this year much more than you have in the past. when we go back to school, or if we go back to school, you know, one of the things you have to do, I said, is you need to photograph anything and everything. Your goal should be to photograph every single student, because we don't know if we'll shut down again. And then with that, you also need to collect as much information as possible. And Samantha Berry talked about this in one of her earlier sessions, but you've got to collect database information from everybody on your campus, just in case we become virtual again. And so this means you're getting their information, not just getting their name and their grade, but you need contact information. You need their phone numbers. You need their social media accounts. And this is very important, because if we shut down, you have to have a way to contact students, because otherwise, how are you going to get them in the book? And it's important to get phone numbers and not just social media, because not every kid is on social media. You don't want your book, if we do shut down or we stay virtual, to just be kids that are on Instagram and TikTok and Twitter. You want it to be every kid on your campus. So those phone numbers are going to be very huge for helping getting you everybody. And then another thing you need to plan on is, you know, getting to people information about how they can submit photos to you, whether it's email or Google or image share. And we're going to talk about that a little more in detail soon. All right, number 3, you need to photograph generic options that are going to be incorporated into your spreads. And so we will go through some examples for you. So here is, you know, a tennis racket that's being used on a tennis spread. Now, yes, there were tennis photos. This is from a couple years ago, but this tennis racket became the dominant photo, and it's really compelling with that look and that design. You know, here's school supplies from Hill Country Christian. This is an academic spread, and these objects all together become the dominant photo and really compelling. You're going to need these kind of generic objects for some of your spreads. You're thinking really creatively about the design. You're really changing it up, and that's going to be huge, because you might not be able to get photos in a classroom like you normally would. But this is really cool and really compelling. And side note, look at all those quotes. That's a lot of student coverage in your book. And plus, I already talked about cutouts. Look, there's little cutouts at the bottom, so everything's coming together. Same school, same concept. You know, here's a trend spread, and they have all these cutouts of objects that connect to what the quotes say. And so this is very easy to do. You know, hopefully you're in school, you have a nice light, you can use to photograph the thing. But if you're not, could you photograph this stuff at home? You know, I've been photographing stuff at home with my cell phone and a white piece of foam core, and just putting it on my porch to have natural light. You know, maybe that's what you're gonna do. You know, maybe you're gonna ask students to take pictures and say, hey, just put it on a white sheet of paper and then send me the photo. You know, these are things that you can do, but we're gonna need objects and cutouts to be part of our books. Same concept, a little bit of a different look though. Vista Ridge High School, and these are all objects that they've cut out. And again, you know, you can do this with just your regular cell phone. If you don't have a fancy camera, I think that this can be really compelling, because none of these photos are super big, but this is going to have to be the look this year. And I think this look is very cool. This is the chance to really change up your design. And this is really awesome. And again, lots of students are covered. You know, there's lots of different people on the spread. It's very, very cool. Here's another one. You know, these are socks. This is Anderson County, really fun spreads. So the fashion trend, right? And every single one of these, this is, you know, someone's foot, but they're all different feet. And so they weren't photographed all at the same time. And so if you're in school, you can get this picture at school. But if you're not, couldn't you just ask somebody, hey, you know, can you have someone take a picture of your foot with your socks that you love? And then you photograph it, and then you cut it out. And I think this is compelling. And none of these are huge photos, so they don't have to be super high quality, but it's very cool, it's very fun. You're gonna need these type of objects in your book. Here's another one. This is from a couple years ago from Rouse High School, but this is ice cream. You know, food's huge this year. You know, where are we picking up food, since you can't necessarily go to a restaurant, or maybe you don't want to go to a restaurant right now. And so you need to photograph things. And so, you know, maybe you're going to go, one of your staffers is going to go photograph each of these things that someone said was their favorite, or the person's going to send you a photo, you know, whatever works for you. But this is compelling and very cool. And these objects, you know, are going to be part of your designs this year. Okay, so the other aspect of this is kind of these generic photos that can work. And so this is one example of tennis balls. And this past year, you know, we provided images for you guys to help you finish your year. And we did coronavirus images and we did sports images. And this is one of the photos that we pulled. You know, and you're gonna need to have this attitude for this coming year, because we don't know what's gonna happen with sports. So maybe you're gonna pull kind of some set photos that represent the sport. So I pulled this tennis one just to show you an example. So let's say the tennis doesn't get to finish their season, or they don't have a season at all, but you still want to give them coverage. You still want to give some love to the team. So what if it becomes this? So I've taken this tennis photo and made it the background, and then I've put in a story, about this tennis team. I didn't write the story, but I did put in a headline and a subheadline. But about tennis players, still coming together to practice because they still love the game, even though they didn't have a season. And then I added a mod at the bottom of cutouts of players, and they're not in their uniforms because, maybe they didn't have a season this year, right? But we've got some quotes from them. So this is a way you can still cover seasons, even if the seasons don't look how we expected. And so that means this book is not going to look how we expected. But I gotta say, I like this design. It's cool, it's compelling. So keep this in mind as you're planning to have kind of the backup option for what's gonna be part of the design photo-wise, a standard photo that can sub in. Here's another example of one of the photos we added. We added this track photo, and we had schools that definitely used it. Here's San Elijo Middle School, and they used a track photo for the track page, and it became the big background, the full bleed. And then they had smaller photos of their athletes, some of them working out, some of them just mugs, because that's what they had to work with. And then they ran quotes from other people. So this is great. We're still getting coverage of this track team. And they didn't have the track photo, but they did run all the names of the team. Same school, San Elijo, but this is the soccer spread, and they used the generic soccer field photo that we provided. But then they ran the pictures that they did have of their boys and girls soccer teams playing. And so again, we're just getting that coverage in there. Similar, but a little different, is Foster High School used kind of a stock photo, but they took the photo. And I think that is way cool and going above and beyond. They went to their softball field. The editor went to the field and she took a ball and she placed the ball on the base, and she photographed this. And then that became the background for this gorgeous spread that is JV softball. Not the varsity team, the JV softball team. Everybody in the country should give this kind of love to their sub-varsity sports, okay? But look at what they did, right? So they have this beautiful photo in the background, and they only had 3 photos because they only got to go to 1 game. So they put those 3 photos, on the right side, and then at the bottom, they have a cutout that they were able to get, and they have 3 photos that were crowdsourced from the team. And we're gonna talk about crowdsourcing in just a minute, which is now, right? So number 4, crowdsource photos. This is going to be huge and very integral to your year this year, to having a successful year. So let's talk about this crowdsourcing. So we know that we're going to need help this year to get through. There's just no way around that. We're going to need help with photography. And, crowdsourcing photos is going to be one of the smartest way to get the images that we need so that we can fill our pages, so that we can have a beautiful book, that we can have a book that's historical and covers the year really well. So we're going to crowdsource. So you've got to get the word out to your audience about you need photos and how you're going to get them. So how are people going to share these photos with you? And I think there's a bunch of ways, but you can do it with image share, with Google, with email requests, with social media requests, through your booster clubs, lots of opportunities. So we're going to talk about these a little bit. So image share is the big one. Image share is Balfour's photo app. And this app allows parents, teachers, and students that are not on the yearbook staff to contribute pictures to the book. And it's great. It's a free app. You download it from your app store. It's called Balfour Image Share. And then people can create an account. And then with that account, they're going to be able to add photos to it that you'll be able to use. So they can load up to 5 photos at a time. I know some people get kind of cranky that you can't do more than that, but that's where it's set at, to load 5 photos at a time. I kind of like that, so people don't try to send you 100 photos because you might not need 100 photos of one event. And the other thing is there's opportunity for them to say who's in a picture and what they're doing, which that's huge. We definitely want that. And so this is great. And so this is, Katie Junior High was nice enough to show me some photos of some things that have been uploaded from image share. So I think this is really smart. So, when people upload their photos, then those photos that are put in the app are automatically delivered to your school project. And then you and your staff decide whether you're using the photos. You can review them. They're not automatically going on your pages. They're just going to get loaded into your project. And you guys will determine which ones you want to use and which ones you don't want to use. And so we have a flyer that you can use to market this, share information, let people know, hey, we have this great resource for you. Here's the image share app. And you want to make sure that when you are sharing this information with people, that you note for them the upload code. It's also called a registration code. They cannot create their account without it. Now, sometimes the account doesn't have that, but most of the time it does, and it's usually your job number. So just check this with your rep or your AE so that you provide that information to people. And this is also a security thing, so that nobody, so that not anyone can just load stuff. And that's why we have it. So it's people that you want to load photos can load photos, and not just some Joe Schmo off the street. So very important to share the upload registration code so that people can access the app. If you don't want to use the Balfour flyer, create your own, right? And so, you might want to create it. This is one from Do It Middle School, and you might want to put it out on social media, or you might want to make posters if we are in school, or you might want to put it on a business card. I love the business card idea because you can put how much yearbooks cost and the website on one side, and then you can put the image share stuff on the back. That's really smart. Do It Middle School did these, and they were front and back, and they were little info cards that the advisor handed out at an event very early in the school year, and she gave them to parents. And it was great. It was super helpful. It really helped them kind of establish the idea that image share was part of yearbook, and that the community could help them get photos, and it was used very, very actively. And notice that project number is on there, so people will be able to create their account with no problems. As you are telling people about your social media, about image share, you need to advertise the heck out of it on all your social media accounts. This is going to be very important. And don't forget to include the upload registration code again. Here's another one. That last one was Leander. This is Coffee County High School. And I love this because this is not a tweet from the pandemic. This tweet is from last year, December 2018. And look what they've done. They have connected with their audience to say, hey, we need you. And I love this, saying we need you to help us create the book. We want your pictures in the book. This is your book. And I love this. This is a strategy that's so smart because you're making your audience have a connection, and they have done that, right? And so this is great. And so we need to do this year. We need to let people know, man, we need your help. You are part of this book. This is a community effort. We want your photos. We want to include them. And they use a little Canva graphics to make it cool, and they didn't forget the project number. So very smart, strategic marketing to get image share out there to their audience. So we need to, as we're sharing information about image share a little bit additional information with our parents. We need to stress to our parents how helpful it is to include caption information. Who's in this photo? When was it? What are they doing? Maybe where they are or why they were doing it. That's going to help us, because if we don't do that, we're going to have to ask for it later. So the more we can stress that to start is going to help us out in the long run. And here's the thing, if I'm talking about image share and you've never had an account for it, you've never used it, make sure to talk with your yearbook rep or your account executive to see if you have one set up. And if not, they're going to help you set one up. And that's going to be an important starting step to get going on this if you've never done it. If you have an account, just go to it, keep going this year. If you've never used it, then definitely have some conversations to get it going and set up. I think this is a year that if you've never done it, you need to do it. It's gonna help you, get through your school year and really have a great book that has tons of photos and this community effort and just a really successful, strong book. One of the things about image share that's really helpful, kind of a bonus, is that when you are sharing this at the book, you're going to help people get excited about the book, because now there's this present. You're saying, hey, we want your photos. We want it to be in the book. And that's getting people excited. And if they know that their photos are going to be in the book, they're more likely to buy one. So this is this great marketing tool for you that I think is really, really smart and we all need to use. So image share is just one way to crowdsource, and I think it's a smart way, but I don't think it should be the only way we crowdsource photos. So how else are we going to get photos from people? What are we going to use to resource? Well, I think Google, I think email, social media, our booster club. So let's talk about those things a little bit. So with Google, I think you can absolutely utilize Google to collect info and photos. I know a lot of advisors love using Google Classroom, and I think you could really use this to get information from people. So Minnetonka High School, when the pandemic happened and they closed down schools, they used Google to get pictures from students and find out quotes and things from them. So here is, this fill in the blank that they had, and people answered questions. At the very bottom, it had a place to add photos. And so then they used this and they put all this information to one of their Google Sheets, and they had all these links to photos. And this became part of their coverage, and they did this great spread. I'm sorry, I should have included it in this show. I'm sorry, Tessa, I should have put it in here. But they had this great photo of all the photos that came from that collection. Very, very smart. When the pandemic started, we also put together resources, and we used Google Drive. And so we had all these photos that we shared with you guys. And so this is just an example of seeing that. And this you could do as well. You could use Google Photos, you could use Google Drive, whatever you want to do to get photos from people to be able to share for your book. I think email is another really smart way to crowdsource images. And I think we could do it with our teachers. If we're in school, you're just sending an all faculty email saying, hey, what's going on in your classes, right? What's going on with your clubs? And I think it's gonna be really helpful because it's helping you find out the cool things that are happening in classes. What are they talking about? What innovative things are they doing? What are the project students doing? If you're in school, this is awesome. These are those caught in the act of learning moments, right? If you're out of school, then you still can find out the cool things they're doing, because it's going to, help influence what you do with that academic coverage. And even if we are at home, emailing those teachers is a great way to get them to send you selfies from their class, from their Zoom, their screenshots, and other kind of fun selfie shots from them doing remote learning. I love this. This is Shawnee Heights High School, and these are all Zoom selfies, and this is fun. You could absolutely get some teachers, get their students to send these to them, and then they give them to you. What if you also had teachers share their desk setup, and that becomes a spread in your book, or that becomes part of your faculty coverage in your people section, what it looks like for them. I love this. Here's another one. This is Suncoast High School, and here is, their coverage. And look, these are teachers with their kind of at their desks at home, and they put it in a computer screen. So again, having fun with this coverage. Email, you don't have to be just to send to faculty. If you're a smaller school, you could email your parents asking them for images. Now, if you're a bigger school, you may consider doing this, but just get permission from your admin before you do it. But I think that this is a really great way to get pictures, especially if we're at home again. And you could encourage them to use the Image Share app to load stuff, but you could also just encourage them to, hey, reply back to you and send you photos. I think that would be really smart. And so you can get some great images of students at home. So, here's some pictures of students at home from Hill Country Christian School, doing their classes, but doing it from home. And these are great, fantastic images. And then here's kids working at home. I love this. And so these are all things that you can get if you'll ask for them. And I think email is one of the ways that you can do that. Even if we're at home, your teachers could still share images of the work that the students are turning in, and they could also share class information. And that information might spark an idea for, how you're going to cover that class in the yearbook. So, here's a great example. These are students' projects that they did. This is Hill Country. And if you're in school, this is great. You can have a nice light. You can photograph these things. If you're not in school, students can take the picture and send it to you, or the teacher can send you the picture that the student sent them. But I think this is absolutely doable, whether we're in school or we're not this year. I love this one too. This is, elective coverage, and there's not a single picture of the class, but there are objects that represent the classes. And I think talking to your teachers and finding out what they're doing in their classes can inspire this kind of look. And this is really compelling. And this is the year that your design is going to completely change. The images you get are going to influence what you can do. And I think this is a perfect opportunity. Remember we said that, we're going to embrace this challenge. Our books can look totally different. And this is beautiful. And it's a completely different way. It's more of a magazine style, but it's gorgeous. And I think we have this great opportunity this year to do this. So talk to people, talk to teachers, find out what they're doing. Let it inspire spreads like this for you. Social media is going to be one of the biggest ways that we can crowdsource images. And I think you need to use photos and you need to use Canva graphics to make those ads appealing. So this is a tweet from Big Spring High School, asking people to help. And then here's what those graphics look like up close. One is to their softball players saying, hey, we want to see pictures of you. One is to their track athletes saying, we want to see pictures of you. And this is great because people were at home, but they were still working out. And so we're saying, hey, we want to see those photos. Isn't that what's happening right now? I know the school I used to work at, the coaches have been putting out tweets every day saying, this is your workout to do today. Well, why not ask those coaches, want to ask those players, hey, take some pictures of your workout and send them to the yearbook staff. And then we put those in the book. And I think that those are compelling stories to tell. That's going to be part of this year is people doing their workouts at home. Let's get it in the books. Let's use our social media to get the word out and get those pictures. And when I say use your social media, you should use all of your accounts. Whatever accounts you have, use them to get the message out. Facebook is a great way to reach parents. That's where they are. Here, Currituck County High School used Facebook to help ID people this past year. You could use it to help ID people. You could use it to crowdsource to get more photos. Twitter is a great place for students and parents. I think Instagram is a great place for parents and students. TikTok is more for students. And typically, it's been more for fun, goofy videos. It hasn't been used really to share as much information, but I think that's going to change this year. And I think you should utilize TikTok. If you don't have a TikTok account for yearbook, I think you need one. You could do funny, goofy yearbook videos, but I think you could also use it to tell people, we want to see your videos, we want to see your photos, and have fun videos that you're getting people to share information with you. So great opportunities with all different types of social media this year. And don't forget about getting your booster clubs and your sports teams helps out. That example we just saw was calling out to the softball team and calling out to the track athletes. Don't forget about reaching out to sports teams, reaching out to coaches, reaching out to those booster clubs and saying, hey, we want your help with these spreads. And, when I say booster clubs, I don't just mean the softball booster club and the other sports booster clubs. I mean the band booster club and the dance booster club and the cheerleader booster club. Any groups that can help you, it's going to make you have a better book. Now, when you've done all this, don't forget to thank people. These people took time and effort to send you those photos. Thank them and utilize your social media to thank them. Hey, it's probably going to help you build some more followers too. And then you're showcasing that photo that they gave you, and you could always put a little tag on there like, here, order your yearbook at balfour.com. And so you're getting a 2-in-1. But thank people, recognize them, and that's going to help those good vibes, that warm, fuzzy feeling to help people keep wanting to help you. Again, this community effort this year, that's what this book is. All right, number 5, we want to utilize phone images smartly. This is going to be important. One of the challenges this year for crowdsourcing or virtual learning is there's going to be a lot of cell phone images and social media images. And so this is a challenge we're going to face, but just like the other challenges we're facing, we're going to overcome it with some smart strategies. So some things you're going to need to do is you're going to need to check the size of images. That's going to be important. So can I run it bigger? Can I run it smaller? And then don't run the pictures bigger than they should be. So I'm really looking at you, InDesign users, because you don't want to blow pictures up too big. Encore and StudioWorks, the system kind of doesn't let you do that. And InDesign, you can put a picture as big as you want, and 200% is not a good idea. That's why that picture looks pixely and looks terrible. Don't do that. Social media images, if you find images that you love, and there's one that you're just in love with, and you want it to be this big photo on your spread, but it's not good enough quality, contact the owner and say, hey, I love this photo. Can I have the original? Because what happens is if you're pulling pictures from social media, the program automatically downsizes the image. So it's not as good quality. But the digital file, the original, whether it was a camera picture or a cell phone picture, is much bigger. So just ask. My students used to do this all the time when they would look on social media for pictures, especially for their summer travel pages. They wanted a big, beautiful picture to be big. And they would just contact the person and say, we love this photo. Can we have the original? The Facebook picture is just not big enough. And then as you're planning, you need to design strategically so that you're using all the photos that you do have an optimal size. So we're not using them too big or not too small, and they don't look pixelated. And so that's what I want to show you now. So look at these examples. This is Rock Canyon High School. It's from a couple years ago, but I love the spread. It's one of my favorite social media spreads ever. They use lots of pictures from social media, but they're tiny. They're people's photographs, right, from their cameras and their social media. But there's one photo that's bigger. It's the most compelling photo. It's got really strong design. It's beautiful, and it holds this page. I want you to think about this as you're planning this year. You know, as you pick out photos, pick the best photo, the best quality, the coolest photo, and make that one the bigger one on the page. You know, here's another example. This is McKinney Boyd, and this is, you know, summer travel. And it's all these little photos from people's social media sites. So nothing super huge. So you don't have to worry about the quality. But all the pictures together, plus this color graphic look, gives you a dominant feel. And so this page is gorgeous. Also, love the white space on this, very smart. This is really great looking. Here's another one, Little Rock Central, and they have smaller photos that have been crowdsourced, and then they've added mugs and they've added cutouts. See, everything I've been talking about coming back. But there's one photo that's the big photo, and they've chosen the best photo to be the big one, just like Rock Canyon did. So this is really smart. So be thinking about this as you're planning your pages. Here's Baylor from this year, and this is a really fun event. And notice most of the photos, you know, are just smaller little photos, and then they have this one cutout as the big photo. So even if your photos are crowdsourced, people are sending you the photos, you know, you have a compelling page that can happen. This is beautiful. And this one I love. This is the one at Tonka High School. And this is a great example of you don't always have to have a dominant photo. And so this is blended coverage. This is 12 different clubs sharing space. You know, if we don't have enough clubs this year, we don't know if everything's gonna happen. This is the way to do it. A lot of clubs sharing on the same spread. You're still giving them coverage. But look at this. This is the club t-shirts, and then you've got the floating heads. And so, you know, there's not a huge photo. And so even if these pictures are not, you know, great quality, they still look great. This is such compelling design. I love it. You know, be thinking about this, you know, as you're strategically planning, you need that design to be really great with the photos you're gonna be able to get. So, you know, we're talking about cell phones, and you're going to be asking people for photos and taking social media photos, you know, they have permission to use, but your staff's probably going to be using cell phones too. And so you need to be smart also with the way you're using photos. And so you might need to give your staff a little training, you know, to improve the images. And so one of the great things is, you know, Apple has this really great resource for how to take good photos on your iPhone, and I love it. And so this is kind of a couple examples from there. There actually are all these little videos. There's 35 different videos. So this is really great. Different things that you can do to improve your iPhone photography. And so I think this would be great to show your students, to really help them. I mean, maybe this is one of your first lessons you do, especially if you're virtual. Really smart to have great photos in your yearbook. Okay, to recap, we're going to take as many photos as possible. We're going to plan on more mugs and cutouts and designs. We're going to photograph generic options that help us incorporate into the spread. We're going to crowdsource images, very important this year. And then we're going to utilize the images that we do have really smartly. These are the 5 strategies we're going to take to have a really successful book and have a great images and a beautiful look. You know, we know that this year is going to be tough. We do. But we are going to survive it, and hopefully we're going to thrive. You know, your attitude is going to be everything. You know, at the beginning of the show, I showed the inspirational Nelson Mandela quote. Well, now I'm going to show you what I say, the tough, mean older sister thing. When people are whining and complaining about stuff, I say, suck it up, buttercup. And that's the truth, because what's happening this year, that's not going to change. You know, we're in the situation we're in. We got to deal with it. So you can have a bad attitude or you can have a good attitude. So suck it up, buttercup. And, you know, we know that the yearbook this year is going to be a community effort. So your attitude is going to be really important, because that is going to be out there for people to see. You know, you need to be excited about this year. You need to share your love for yearbook and your excitement, because this is a historic moment, right? We have this opportunity to share the history of this year, which is unlike any year our students have been a part of. And so this is so important that we do a great job, and that we record these moments, and that we are excited, and that we share the excitement with other people. So we're not putting a bad attitude out there. We're putting a yes, we can do it attitude out there. You know, the way you choose to be this year is going to make a difference in how your year goes. You know, so you're going to be happy and excited and take on this challenge. You know, it's going to be the year that you make it. I hope that this show has excited you and challenged you and inspired you. You know, photography is going to be very integral this year. And so I hope that all these crowdsourcing ideas will help you and make you motivated, excited for this year. You know, suck it up, Buttercup, we're going to do it. And now, you know, I know you might have some questions, so we're going to talk. So let's take a moment and let's talk about photography and how we're going to make this year happen. All right, let's go.